And the last step before the color grading will be working with contrasts. Let me put this to the group. You can see before and after. The Dutch and burn gives you really nice and natural result in evening out the skin. So now it's something I really want to. And how to work with contrast? Well, we work again with curves. The most basic thing would be, of course, simply dragging down the curve in the shadow area and bringing up the lights in the highlights area, but it doesn't give you the result that will be very selective. Of course, I recommend you to change always also blending mode to luminosity to not affect the colors, but just the light. So we improve the contrasts, and yeah, it's right, but it's not as perfect as you'd like to have. So I have the method create 2 curve adjustment layers, and of course this method is good for outdoor image. For other images I will be showing you a few more methods. So just set this as a highlights and luminosity blending mode, and the other one as a shadows with also luminosity blending modes. Why it's luminosity blending mode? Like I showed you this, but maybe didn't explain too much. As you can see, when I drag the curves, right now it doesn't affect the colors but just the lights. And if I change blending mode to normal, as you can see, the image becomes, for example, more saturated. Before we tend to affect the saturation as well, and we don't want this. We want to work only with lights, because work with colors, let's leave it for later. So what I do here, I'm going to image and apply image. And layer merged, it simply shows the image as it is. It exactly picks up the highlights existing on the image and mask them into here. You can invert this if you want to make shadows, but well, for now I want to do highlights. And let's have a look how this mask looks like. I'm going to press Option and hit on the image. That's how this mask looks like. And as I told you before, everything what's white on the layer mask is visible. So if we apply the effect, all of the white areas will be visible and dark invisible. I want to make another white for shadows. I'm going to press Command and hit on this. So I'm going to make selection and then Command and invert into shadows. How it looks like. So here the white areas are on the shadows and the dark one on the highlights. What I'm doing on the highlights, bring up the highlights, try to not affect the shadows, so maybe like this, before, after. And on shadows I'm going to do opposite, just like that. Of course, I would recommend you to adjust your shadows and highlights just in opacity to make sure it's something you want. If it's correct, I can see maybe highlights down to 70, shadows 80. I really like how soft the image is, so I would rather stay quite careful with this, with highlights and shadows. So make sure you make it soft transition as you really wish to. So this is something which will be quite suitable for me, maybe even soft. And as you can see, for outdoor image, it should be rather soft, looks the best before and after. So this technique for outdoor image will give you relatively soft and very accurate results and give you also a lot of control. So let's jump and color grade this image. Let's jump to the next lesson and color grade this image.